Hello and welcome back to Holy Discourse, where we're looking at another Trump thing versus what Fox News calls a woke bishop, whatever the heck that means.
Yesterday, the
Dude,
presidential
the dude on the
party and
left,
members
bro, the dude on the left looked angry, like mad.
of Congress and
Big
whatnot,
mad.
the hoi polloi of Washington for the most part, went up to Washington's National
Either that or he
Cathedral
doesn't look
for
like he feels well.
National
It's one of the
Prayer
two.
event. And there at the
He's either really mad or he looks like he's just about to throw up, that he's like not feeling good and just trying to keep it together.
lectern was Bishop Marianne Edgar Bood, and she gave a sermon that, it's described as a sermon, but really it was a lecture where she told the new president, go easy on migrants and refugees and members of the LGBTQ community. If you did, it's gotten a lot of support in some quarters and a lot of criticism. Here she is.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and Independent families.
JD's face. Bro, he looks so done already. He's not about to have... Trump's just like, okay. Vice President is not having it right now.
Some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops.
I don't know who the dude in the back is behind JD, but he's also not having it.
And clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
And Trump has checked out. He's done.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
Oh my God!
It's always good to learn. What was that, John, or was that Paul?
I don't know. She didn't go through scripture. Okay,
Right.
she gave a political speech.
Absolutely.
As someone that comes from generations of preachers, I would have walked out. I commend the president for being graceful, but I'm JD Vance. I'm looking crazy. Like, what is she talking about doing a sermon? I don't think it was appropriate time. If you had something to say to,
Yeah, I mean, as a Christian person, like, if you're gonna make a stance and it's very, you want to back that up with evidence or with the Bible, especially when you're in a church. Like, that's something like, hey, this is going on right now. There was a story like this in the Bible, and I kind of like relate to it and kind of talk through it. Instead, it's just like they said, it is kind of a lecture. Like, it is what it is.
president, that may be a little political. If you wanted to talk about the president exercising mercy, then you could have asked for the president for a few minutes of his time and said, Mr. President, this is the issue that I feel. But don't get up there and try to preach a sermon that you cite no scripture for.
Well, here's the thing. The president's team should have known that she could have said things that were inappropriate or stuff that they didn't need to hear or was not appropriate.
Just Google her.
That's all they would have to do. But instead, they put him in that position where he's in the front row.
Why was she?
Could also be Trump kind of showing, like, this is what other people are saying, and I don't know. Could be a chess move for Trump somehow, showing, like, this is what other people think, and they're so far this way that this is what they think. I don't know. I just feel like there's intention somewhere, him joining this, but I don't know what the intention was.
She's the bishop
rector of
that bishop of that particular national cathedral. Here she is last night on CNN explaining what she wanted to do.
I was speaking to the president because I felt that he has this moment now where he feels charged and empowered to do what he feels called to do. And I wanted to say, there is room for mercy. There's room for a broader compassion. We don't need to portray with a broad cloth in the harshest of terms some of the most vulnerable people in our society.
So Trump wants an apology, and he made that clear. He said the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal immigrants that came.
Yeah, bringing politics into, following Jesus is not. It's like oil and water. It just doesn't mix. Like, obviously, there's going to be some times like where you vote and stuff like that, or you have like a worldview, and it's kind of based on what you believe in. But bringing that into church and bringing stuff like that into church, I don't agree with. Like, you can say as a Christian that a lot of people are going to be more on the right just because a lot of Republican values are similar to, Christian values. But that doesn't mean that everyone is, or really hard right like Trump is. It just means that they might align a little bit more with Republicans, but that has nothing to do with their faith.
Came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that's taking part in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was very boring and uninspiring. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. Now, you got this historic moment, and she decides to give a lecture. A self-important person who probably had AOC jot some notes down before.
You know what? I mean, she has every right to her opinion. We all have an opinion on this issue.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't like it when ministers bring politics into the pulpit and try to lecture you. So I agree with you. Maybe pull them aside.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Like, there's nothing wrong with giving your opinion or, talking to someone. But I don't know if that was really the right way to do it when you were supposed to give, like, a speech on God, and instead you were like, I'm going to talk about politics and how much I think you're a terrible person, basically. I don't know if that's the time and place for it. I personally don't think it is, but
After the service and say, Mr. President, may I talk to you for a little bit? There's something in my community that bothers me, that I
Right.
need to tell you about, and just have an adult conversation, but do it privately, because now everyone's talking
But
about this.
the issue that she's asking for mercy on when it comes to the border, did you go and speak to any of the families that were killed by illegals? How about coming into New York and talk to the cops that had fire shot at them? Did you ask for mercy for the cops? I mean, that's why you don't get involved in this. She could have said, let's bring the country together. Let's have the spirit of Christ. But she went into some political, radical leftist. Right. I don't know that church. I don't know the structure. But whoever is in command should have a look at this.
Well,
this is not biblical doctrine that she's speaking from the pulpit.
Well,
yeah, you shouldn't be bringing politics, and you shouldn't be like, oh, this is a Republican church, or this is a Democrat church, or this is a liberal church. Like, bringing politics in is messy, and you don't get anything done at the end of the day. You just don't. Like, you go to church to learn about Jesus, to talk about the Bible, to try to study it more, to try to understand it more, and just, pave your way to heaven, basically. Not bring in politics and argue about politics.
What denomination is this?
I think Episcopalian. Here's the thing: if she's going to be the bishop and she's going to lecture the president every time he goes to events like that, maybe it's time for the president and Washington in general to stop going to the National Cathedral.
I'm for that too.
Listen, not far from the White House is St. Matthew's, where we baptized my son Peter, or go to the Basilica at Catholic University. It's referred to as America's Catholic Church. I doubt that they would ever make anything political. And if you remember, at the inaugural, who gave one of the opening prayers? Cardinal Dolan. Yeah. Was he political? Absolutely not. He was looking to the future. So just don't go back.
Donald Trump said he's non-denominational now, and so go to a non-denominational church. You're not going to get a lecture like that.
Well, put it this way: why doesn't he just say, if you don't, get rid of her or change your tone? If the president of the United States decides not to go to the National Cathedral, that would be Titanic news.
It would be,
and it would really put pressure on her to start doing the whole bishop thing. I don't know what form she filled out and how many interviews she went through.
Would it be? I don't know. I don't know how. Do they do this often? I don't pay enough attention to politics to know. I I just thought this would be an interesting story because it seems very, I guess, contradictive of someone being like, oh, I'm really woke and I'm this and that, but I'm also a Christian. It's kind of like, okay. I don't understand why politics and that are woven in together, but okay.
But you realize for her to get that job and do that and to do that mass, how many people had to sign off on it?
Yeah.
So it
That's
wasn't
what
just
I'm
like it's not
asking.
like she's
What's
like,
the
oh,
structure here?
I was just a hole in the schedule. I'm filling in for somebody.
She's had that job for a while. She absolutely, to your point, Ainsley, she is absolutely protected by the First Amendment,
course.
and she can say anything she wants. But just the
Yeah,
Trump
she
team
can.
probably should have looked a little into her background. Is she going to go
She
ahead
can say
and
whatever she
sandbag
wants,
him?
but she's supposed to be representing the great book, okay?
Right.
And nothing that she said there was representative of that. She's saying mercy, but it says nothing about obeying the laws of the land.
I think people who have her opinion are reading the whole border situation in the wrong way. It's not that he doesn't have compassion. Of course he has compassion on every single person. Everyone's God's child. It's not about that. It's about taxpayers paying so much for other people. We're pouring into the tax base.
right.
And they're giving that money to people who are not here legally and are not contributing. That's all it is. And the crime, the people that are murdering Laken Riley. You know, yes, you're right. She should have a conversation with their parents and have mercy on.
I wouldn't agree with that necessarily. I know there's a lot of people that work super hard that are, illegal immigrants, or they are legal, and they take kind of the unwanted jobs that Americans won't take, like hard laboring jobs, I should say, So I wouldn't say, oh, they're just coming over and just using taxes. I mean, I'm sure there are people that are doing that. There are people that are doing that whether they're American citizens or not, and abusing the system. That's the end all be all of it. But I mean, I agree with, like, if someone's hurting someone or whatever, like, yeah, no, they shouldn't have an opportunity to stay in the country.
Those families.
Which just passed. Laken Riley, the Laken
Yes, it
Riley
did.
bill, and had over 40 votes in the House alone.
Right, goes back to the House today.
She wants to
and
be
then it goes
famous.
Trump.
That's why she hops on CNN. That's why she sat there. And there's video of her in 2020 with her ridiculous mask on, outdoors, with the little vent on the side, screaming about Donald Trump and what he should be, and the George Floyd riots. That's not somebody that wants to be a leader for everybody.
No, she shouldn't be in clergy.
Okay, so that's something.
More Al Sharpton.
A lot of people, both sides, talking about.